I'm going to be teaching you how to solve a quadratic equation by using the quadratic formula. Some quadratic equations can't be solved by factoring. Actually, a lot of them can't. So when you can't solve them by factoring, you have to fall back on the trusty old quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is a formula that you'll have to memorize for all of your tests when you have to use quadratics. Don't worry, once you get the hang of it, your quadratic formula is pretty easy. The quadratic formula is your fail-safe for all quadratic equations, because remember, your quadratic formula, once you plug them in, can solve any quadratic equation that's tossed to you. Your quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. There's a song for this, but I never happened to learn it, so you'll have to look somewhere else for that one. You might be wondering what the a and the b and the c are, where they're coming from. In your quadratic equation, the number before your x squared is your a, your number before your x is your b, and your last number is your c. So in this case, your 2 would be your a, your 5 would be your b, and your 2 would be your c. Once you're solving with the quadratic formula, the easiest way to go is to solve the b squared minus 4ac first, before you solve the rest of that. So you just plug it in. So your b squared minus 4ac would equal, because 5 is your b, 5 squared. And it's important to put your b into parentheses when you're plugging them in, because if you have a negative b, there's a difference between parentheses negative 5 squared and negative 5 parentheses squared. Remember that. So this would become b squared, just negative 5 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 8, times c, which is 16. So this would become 25 minus 16, which equals 9. And luckily for you, 9 is a square, a perfect square. So your b squared minus 4ac turns out to be 9. So once you plug the rest of them in, you're negative 5 to negative b plus or minus square root of 9 over 2a, which is 2 times 2 was 4. So your final equation turns out to become pretty simple. Negative 5 plus or minus 3 over 4. Negative 5, okay, this is where your equation will split into two and give you two different answers for x. Your first answer would become negative 5 plus 3, which is negative 2 over 4. And negative 2 over 4 equals negative 1/2. So your first x equals negative 1/2. Your second x would equal negative 5 minus 3, which is negative 8 over 4. And negative 8 over 4 equals negative 2. So your second x would equal negative 2. So your two answers would come out like this. Now, as you can see, if you'd factored this out, it wouldn't nearly have been as simple, because you most likely would not have come up with a half, like a fraction, as one of your factored answers. A lot of times when you're plugging an equation into the quadratic formula, it won't end up looking this nice. It won't be this clean. It'll have some kind of weird square root, like 52 or something like that. And you'll just have to leave it in the negative b plus or minus square root of that number over 2a.